In order to read, a child must first feel motivated to read. There are many purposes of reading that motivate students. We read for enjoyment, to hear stories about cool superheroes or unicorns. We read to get information about things like animals, or how to do something like bake a cake. We also read to communicate with each other. We read notes, text messages, and signs. Literacy instruction should be related to real-life purposes. Children will be motivated, engaged, and remember concepts when we provide opportunities for them to use literacy skills in real-life contexts. Adults model the many ways reading and writing help us. For example, children observe adults following recipes and instructions to build things. This shows children the importance of written language.
Oral language is the foundation of reading, and children begin to develop this long before they enter a classroom. This is why having conversations with and around children is so important. Children learn the meaning of language and build their vocabularies by having conversations with their caregivers, by listening to conversations between other people, and listening to stories. Research suggests that the first 6 months of life are the most crucial to a child's development of language skills. For a person to become fully competent in any language, exposure must begin as early as possible, preferably before school age. Parents should talk to their young children while performing daily tasks, such as grocery shopping or cooking, saying things like, "I'm putting 3 oranges in the bag," or "I'm cutting the carrots."
There are 8 main areas of learning to read: pre-reading skills, noticing sounds, learning letters, blending sounds, learning sight words, word families, decoding words, and reading comprehension. Once children understand that print has meaning, they begin exploring these elements of reading. We focus on pre-reading skills, noticing sounds, learning letters and sight words, and exploring some reading comprehension skills before the other areas.
Pre-reading skills. Children first learn pre-reading skills when they are exposed to books and words in their environment. Pre-reading skills include holding a book, turning the pages, identifying the cover and the title, proper care and respect for books, understanding that pictures are different from text, understanding that the text is where we get meaning from, understanding that one spoken word is the same as one written word, understanding that sentences are made up of words with spaces in between, and words are made up of letters. Knowing that we start reading the first word on the left side. Pointing to track words from left to right and down as they are read. Understanding what an author and an illustrator are. These skills are first developed at home when parents first read books to their children. The single most significant factor influencing a child's early educational success is an introduction to books and being read to at home prior to beginning school. Children who are read to frequently in the preschool years are more likely to read for pleasure and have better reading comprehension abilities in the elementary grades. It is also an opportunity to read books about particular topics, situations, and values you want your child to learn about. For example, reading a book about going to the hospital if your child is scheduled to have surgery, or books about being a good friend. It fosters an emotional connection to reading. Reading before bed provides a calming activity that prepares them for sleeping, and also an opportunity to spend quality time together where you can talk about books and learn about your child's experiences, opinions, and interests. The nurturing and one-to-one attention from parents during reading aloud encourages children to form a positive association with books and reading later in life. Children who are read to at least 3 times a week by a family member are almost twice as likely to score in the top 25% in reading compared to children who are read to less than 3 times a week. Here are some activities that focus on pre-reading skills. Have your child pretend to read you a book where they look at the pictures and tell you what's happening in the story. Include elements of literacy in dramatic play. For example, signs, menus, and labels. Create a print-rich environment and point out text in the environment. For example, read food packaging, recognize stop signs or logos, label objects and furniture in the classroom, reference visual schedules, and have many types of books and writing materials available to encourage children to explore elements of literacy on their own. Include children in writing grocery lists and have them check off items while you're at the store. Pair stories with songs such as The 5 Little Pumpkins and Pete the Cat and His 4 Groovy Buttons.
Noticing sounds. Before children can learn their letter sounds, we must draw their attention to sounds and show them that our speech can be broken down into small pieces. This includes counting syllables, rhyming, identifying the first sound of a word, and grouping words that start with the same sound. First, we begin with activities that introduce children to active listening. For example, going on a listening walk indoors or outdoors, stopping often to listen to sounds in the environment, and then returning to the classroom to discuss what was heard. Other activities can include doing a sound sort, where you look at a collection of pictures of objects and sort them by their beginning sounds, clapping and counting the syllables in students' names, reading poems together, and identifying the words that rhyme.
Learning letters. It's strategic to start by identifying the letters in a child's name. Their name is a word they will see most frequently, and it's personally meaningful to them. Then progress to identifying letters in friends' names and interest words, such as Batman, hockey, Elsa, and pizza. Children learn the names of the letters, like A, B, and C, and the letter sounds, like A, B, and K, and identifying letters in both their uppercase and lowercase form. It's important to progress to identifying letter sounds because it's the information that is used to read. To learn their letter sounds, children must be exposed to letters daily and practice repeatedly. Children will remember letters and letter sounds when they are taught through games and meaningful everyday activities, instead of using flashcards or other drills. Here are some activities that focus on letter recognition and letter sounds. Pointing out letters in books or in the environment that are also in your child's name. Writing letters with all different types of materials, such as sidewalk chalk or paint. Playing letter bingo, and then progressing to letter sound bingo. Playing hangman. Participating in song games such as Willoughby Wallaby, where the first letter in each student's name is changed to W. This can be adapted to focus on other letter sounds as well.
Understanding word families. Word families are groups of words that have a pattern. They have some of the same letters in them. For example, the at word family includes the words cat, bat, and sat. It makes reading easier because if you can read cat, you can read bat. Teaching word families has generally been done through making word lists, but the more creative you can get, the more engaging it will be. Try making word spinners or books for a more hands-on approach.
Decoding words. Children are explicitly taught reading strategies to help them decode unknown words when they are reading. They include looking at the pictures for clues, identifying the beginning letter sound, noticing patterns in the text, stretching out or sounding out words, chunking words into smaller familiar pieces or words, skipping the word and coming back to it later. Decoding strategies can be taught working one-on-one or in small reading groups. Visuals can be used to remind children of the reading strategies that are explicitly taught to them. When selecting books to practice reading skills, parents and teachers should pick books based on students' interests. They should also provide lots of choice in different types of texts, such as storybooks, comics, magazines, posters, and online resources.
Reading comprehension. Reading comprehension skills are developed throughout the process of learning to read. Reading comprehension skills are used before, during, and after reading a book. In kindergarten and the primary grades, students generally learn to predict what will happen in a story, make connections between their own life experiences and what is happening in the story, develop and share opinions. For example, explaining whether they liked a book or not, what their favorite part of the book was, and what kinds of books they like. Identify the main character and talk about the emotions of the characters in books. Sequence of events, or beginning, middle, and end. Retell simple stories. Recall information from stories to answer questions, including who, what, when, where, why, and how questions. Understand new words. Ask questions. Identify the setting, where the story takes place. Identify the purpose and audience. Identify the main idea and draw conclusions. Make text-to-text and text-to-world connections. Inferencing, or making an educated guess based on what they have read. Generate their own ideas to create a story. Reading comprehension can be demonstrated in a number of ways. Children can show they understand what they have read by discussing the story with adults and their peers, drawing pictures, writing, and acting out the story with toys or puppets.
Teachers and parents should be aware of these elements of reading to support children in their early reading experiences. They help us to focus our instruction and guide students to reach the next steps in their learning. Being creative and enthusiastic about reading will help motivate and engage students so that they can grow to be confident readers. The goal isn't just for students to learn how to read, but also to enjoy reading and have fun so that they will continue to read for the rest of their lives.